Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm here with Tyler Robertson. We're going to be talking about choosing the right lieutenants for your business. Tyler, great to have you. Can you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so I always feel like I'm a dumb truck guy that was like at the right place at the right time. Got like really lucky. 10 years ago in my garage, $1,000. Now we got 200 employees pushing, 100 million in revenue and like bootstrapping most of it. So it's just been like a wild journey. It's my first time being a CEO of a company, right? And growing a thing. So I work with someone else. So it's been a 10-year journey, man. So I'm really enjoying the ride and looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah. One thing I'm really excited to talk to you about is that kind of that bootstrap journey and the changes along the way that have happened and how that impacts who you choose. Because in the tech side of business, and I know Diesel Laptops by name infers tech, which I think is great, but that industry technically, or that industry historically, isn't really thought of as a technology industry that you're serving. But when a lot of the folks that we're used to talking with, or that I'm used to talking with, are coming out of that software venture capital space, there's always money that they've raised for some idea and grown things that way. And we're bootstrapped also, though, like you are. And I feel like those challenges are very different in growth in some cases, rather than starting with a big nest egg and then.
Yeah, but I think bootstrapping has its advantages, right? So now I sit here years later with my equity and I got a big piece of the pie, right? So like that's a great place to be. But not gonna lie, those like first years, like I was like taking none or very little money out of the company. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't. Because your revenue's doubling, you got receivables, you got R&D, you got taxes to pay, you have inventory. I swore when I started this, I was like, I'm never gonna have anyone owe me money. They can pay cash up front. I'm gonna carry very little inventory. And then like you go to today, like fuck, I got $12 million tied up in this stuff. You're like, well, how did I get here, right? But yeah, that's just the journey of doing it. And really, I didn't know how to raise money. Like I wouldn't even known how to do it. So I was just kind of rolling with the flow and trying to make payroll and like keep growing my company the best I could during that, especially that first 6 years.
Yeah. When do you think, what was the inflection point, where it was time to really start looking at hiring and not your first people, because it's not necessarily, you're not going to go out and hire a COO or a CFO out of the gate probably, or maybe you did, but when did you start thinking about, hey, I need other leadership, I need people to help?
Yeah, so you can't have too many people reporting to you because then you get nothing done, right? Like that's one of the things that a lot of small business get stuck at. And just like on that note, like most businesses get stuck at a certain revenue threshold. And if they don't know why, I'll give them the answer. It's them, nothing to do with anything else. And it's what we're going to talk about today. So those first ones are fairly easy because I had hired some employees that I trusted. Like my first several employees I actually worked with before. So I knew who they were. I worked side by side with them. Like I knew who they were. And then as the company grew, they just stepped up and took leadership roles. I never even gave them titles. I didn't give them anything besides they'd be like, I need to hire someone. I'm like, then go hire somebody. Like how? I'm like, we go to the HR department, figure it out. Like put an ad out somewhere. I don't know. Like just go do it. That's where it started. And then, eventually you start realizing like, okay, I need to bring some like experienced leadership into the company and some other things, which I'm sure we'll get into. But the first people were just people that were like doing a job. I had trust in them. They had authority with the other employees, even though they didn't have the title. And they just kind of like melded into those leadership roles.
That's awesome. Yeah. One of the things for us over time is, originally my thought was that we needed to hire, young, hungry, eager, really talented people and grow them into those roles. And looking back, I think I wish I had maybe gone a little more top down from the beginning. But one of the things that I really like about our company is that we were able to build and develop culture from the beginning. And I'm sure because you had worked with these guys before, did that help you maintain such a strong culture that Diesel has today internally?
It was so easy in the beginning because I got to literally like interview people. I'd bring them to lunch their first day, got to know who their spouses and their kids and it was different, right? It was a small company. And then you compare it to today when you got a couple hundred employees and you don't even recognize them because, they work from home or you just don't ever go to the end of the building and you're like, are you an employee? Like, who are you? So I've had to make adjustments myself to deal with that, which means now new employees come sit with me for 30 minutes. in that first week, so I can know who they are. So it definitely changes. Your culture changes so much as your company scales, and it has to. Like if you want a company that's doing 50 million in revenue, you're going to have a different culture than when you were doing $500,000. It's just a fact of life. And you get so many personalities and so many people in there.
Right.
And you have to give up control of things and not even know what's going on anymore. So we always say, like, I don't care how the sausage is made. Just I want the sausage to come out at the end, right? Like,
right.
But that's what happens. It's different as your company scales.
Yeah, the lieutenants are, one of the challenges that we have today at our size and the stage that we're in is a lot of times customers want to work directly with me. They don't necessarily, they think that if I'm having them work with other members of the team, regardless of how much time, energy, effort, fit that our other team members are, they still kind of want to work with me. And I know you're well beyond that point, but did that ever have any impact? Did you see that stage?
Yeah, because you own the company. No one's going to take as good a care of them as you, right? Like that's a hard thing for a lot of owners to give up.
Right.
But you have to if you want to grow. So yeah, I wish like when things aren't going well, I'm always like, why are they not going well? I don't know. Like now I have to go talk through 3 layers of management to get meetings together and figure things out. But the early days, I just knew because I'm in the trenches doing it every day, and I would know what works, what doesn't work. So it gets way more complex, and things just take a lot longer as you scale. So we're constantly trying to fix that. Like we launch a new product, and there's a whole new process, and all these accounting, marketing, tech support, sales, warehouse. They all got to meet together to discuss like what we're doing. And when you do that, what happens a lot of times is like now everyone wants to inject their processes into a thing to make it work for them. And a lot of times we don't put the customer first. So now you made a worse customer journey just so you can take care of your own processes. And it's a constant battle that we're going through it now. We're trying to really be like, why is this not working? And you start realizing like, oh, that's because we have to go through like all these departments and customers assign this and do that and this and that for compliance.
It's a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect. It really gets tough, and you need to have really good people, and they're really hard to find.
When you were in those growth stages, is your mentality, like you mentioned, somebody coming in and having their own opinions or skill sets or experience? Does it change your mentality in hiring now versus in the past? Like, are you looking at leadership that specifically is coming in with certain skill sets for your size?
Yeah, so I'll just tell you and the audience what happened here. So like my company kind of got to a very, like I think it was like 30 million in revenue pretty quick. And then things were like just choppy revenue. We weren't growing like we were beforehand. So I was like, okay, I need to bring in some help. And one of the first things I was like, man, I need a CFO. Like these books, there's a lot of dollars flowing through this thing. Like, where is it, right?
Yeah.
And I hired like a fractional CFO. Because I was like, I can't afford a CFO. Those guys make like hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're maybe want equity and all these things. So I hired a fractional one. I thought that was the right decision. And that was like totally the wrong decision. Because now you got someone in Atlanta that's trying to tell us what to do here, not on site.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just like, I understand what he was trying to accomplish, but we couldn't implement it because we just had the communication and distance barrier and all those things. So then I got rid of that CFO. And I hired a full-time CFO who I thought was like the right guy. And the story what happened there is like every month our revenue is pretty consistent still. And our EBITDA is pretty consistent. And all of a sudden he's like, hey, we lost like $1.1 million last month. I'm like, wait, how can that be? like the top line didn't change. Our expenses didn't go up. Like, what happened? And he's like, well, I don't know yet. So I'm like, okay, my own CFO doesn't know.
You have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah. I start digging into it and like digging into the financials. And I've done accounting before. I know enough to be dangerous. So I get in there and I see it has to do with cost of goods. And they're like, there's big, massive, like hundreds of thousands of dollars journal entries every month. I'm like, what is that? And I start to realize what he was doing was basically moving money around into COGS to like impact my income. So if you lower your cost of goods sold, you have more margin, which means you show more money. And he's like, oh, that's because like product was in transit from Europe. So I would just move it over there because it hadn't actually shown up yet. And I'm like, well, we haven't paid for it yet. Doesn't mean like you can't just like claim inventory that's not yours. It's like, well, I think you can. So me and him in a disagreement.
Sure.
And it also took him like 2 days to come back to me to for him to tell me what was wrong. And I was like, look, either you're incompetent or you're straight up like committing fraud here. Like either way, you got to go. So then I got rid of a CFO, and it's really hard to start trusting people when you've like, now I've gone through 2 CFOs essentially. Like, how do you trust the next one when that's where you ended up? And those are really hard things to do as a business owner.
Right. And that's such a critical time too, because what are you going to get rid of them and then wait 4, 5, 6 months to hire the next person, and then you're pulled back straight into that role because somebody has to handle it?
Yeah.
Or did you have somebody step up?
So we had a controller, and she was like doing what she could. And I went about 2 years without hiring a CFO because I was just like really gun shy now. I'm like, this is like this one down in flames. And eventually we were like transitioning from, we outgrew QuickBooks. We were using QuickBooks Online at still 45 million in revenue. And we had another inventory management system that talked together, production system. And we had to transition to NetSuite. We're like, okay, this is just not working. I don't know margins on products. I don't have inventory control. Like, it was just like, it was getting bad.
Yeah.
So we went through this whole transition to NetSuite. Still no CFO. And right at the end of the transition, I finally brought a CFO in. And he kind of gets involved in the end of the transition. And then like 3 or 4 months later, like the wheels start falling off the bus. I get a call from the controller being like, hey, we need to move $1 million off our money market account into the checking account, which my money market was like my savings account, right? For the rainy day fund.
Right.
And I got like $3 million there. And she's like, I need to move $1 million. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, oh, we had some big orders come through from purchasing, just kind of got behind. It's fine. That'll clean it up. I'm like, okay, move it. And then like a week later, she's like, I need to move another $1 million. I'm like, whoa, like why now, right? And she's like, oh, we found some more things, had to do with this transition period and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And then, now my CFO's there, he's digging into it. And then he comes to me, he's like, yeah, we need to move the last $1 million too. I'm like, and a vendor called me saying, hey man, what's going on? You guys owe me like $3 million. You haven't paid me in like 60 days. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I know we wire you money like every week. I thought we got frauded or some scammer or something. And come to find out, we transitioned to NetSuite. A couple things happened. One, we never actually sent invoices or statements to customers. So they weren't paying us.
Oh my gosh.
And this was kind of right around COVID time, and we were like stocking up on inventory. And we were just buying as much inventory as we could because we didn't know if we could get it anymore. We're like, well, we got to have it, right? And the bills weren't actually, the script was broken that actually put them into NetSuite. So now the bills weren't even going into the system. So now it was a disaster. It took us like a year
to like dig out of it.
That year, yeah. I got into that year in I remember being like March, April, and we were like, oh, we're going to make $4 million this year. When that, 2 years later, when we actually got it all figured out, we actually lost $6 million that year.
That's insane.
It was absolutely horrible. Like, I thought I was going to lose my company there for a minute. So I was like, okay, well, this is why not having any debt and having that cash in the bank was a good thing. And I've always been super debt adverse. So yeah, having the right people, not having the right person there, dang near cost my entire company. But it's that important to have the right people you can trust.
And you were already gun shy, and then that happens again.
Yep.
And so I imagine you made another change. Was it another year or two after that? Did you make a change?
Right, I did the opposite of what my gut told me to do. Right when all this was going down, I was like, okay, I'm gonna preface this here. I can go left or I can go right. I think this is actually the time when I know I should be kind of hunkering down a little bit. I was like, I'm actually gonna go bring in a chief revenue officer and a chief operating officer.
Foot on the gas.
Yeah, let's bring them in. I didn't think I could afford them because now you're talking 2 more people that are making a couple $100,000. All of a sudden throw more expense on the company. But I was like, I got this thing got too big. Things are out of control. I need more competent people here to help me fix this and right the ship. Right. So we lost a lot of money that year, but we've more than made up for it since then. Sure. These guys have really come around. EBITDA is great. Growth is good. Don't get me wrong, we got our challenges, but finally, I didn't think I could afford them. It was really a situation I couldn't afford not to, in hindsight, bringing the right people in to grow the company.
Does that mean right around that time, that was more, it sounds like you implemented more of a true leadership structure there rather than, top down, you're dictating, you're hiring people for specific roles. Is that meaningful? We got more structured. And, once we had that core group there,
and we got into strategic planning and really talking about things.
Yeah.
And your company was actually involved in part of this. Like, we all sat down one day and was like, okay, where's all our money going? And then we look at like that expense line for software development, which I had like 40 or 50 people. I don't even know how many were there.
Yeah.
And I asked the guys one question, like, if we didn't spend any of that money, would we have made more, less, or the same this year? Like,
Right.
did it affect top line at all?
Right.
And we're all like, no.
Right.
Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
this is absolutely insane. Like, and it was a dramatic thing. Like, we literally cut like 40 people out of software dev, brought you guys in to help man the ship for us, and like build us back up against a software company. And that was, again, a failure in leadership. I went through 3 different people that were in charge of that division, and they all started out like it was going to be a good thing, and they all like crashed and burned. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, I've tried 3 people. Time to just do a big reset here.
Right.
And now things are going much better than they ever have.
Yeah, it's interesting in our industry too. Like a lot of the analogies and the statements that we're making about having your finger on the pulse for cash flow on the tech side. I mean, when you're generating IP, when you're burning capital to run development, when you have costs that go into maintenance and everything else. I mean, if somebody doesn't have the ability to account for where that work goes, or creates visibility for that, then that creates all kinds of challenges too. And we see that all the time where companies, you guys really weren't that unique, where you're investing and you're investing and you're investing, and you just assume because I can't see it, it's magical and it's mystical and it's software, it's probably working, right?
Yeah.
There is good that's going to come out of it one day, but we emphasize along the way that really running that part of that type of an organization is not different than running, even if you're looking at just bringing on inventory and shipping out product and doing that, a lot of the same mentalities in software. But we look at technical leaders, right, to come in and run a software division. But if they don't have that capability, then that creates big challenges too, no matter how visionary they are on product and everything else.
Well, and that was always a big issue in our company, because everyone that worked in software engineering, from management down, development, they weren't from our industry. So
Right.
So they're constantly trying to like build things that they think could be helpful. So an example would be, hey, right now customers can only search for a fault code if they actually put the fault code number in. Let's go build a search where they can do it by description. And I'm like, I get it, guys. That sounds great, because that's how Google works and everything else.
Right.
But like them putting in oil pressure and having 18 different fault codes to pick from didn't solve
Right.
anyone's problem. Like that's not actually helpful at all for most of the users. And it was constantly them wanting to do things like that. Be like, oh, let's fix this little thing over here. I'm like,
Right.
nobody gives a crap.
What value is that going to deliver?
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about that too, is like the build versus buy argument a lot. And it's the same thing for physical tools as it is for software tools. And I remember, because I had come in several years before we started really working with you guys as well. And I remember sitting down and looking at some of the things that you were maintaining internally, like internally built tools, and was wondering why you guys built a search engine internally that was it was critical in some cases, but it really was unnecessary at the time. But it was done by a junior developer who was like too smart for their own good, probably,
Yeah.
right? And didn't think about the broader impact to the organization and could you maintain that? But leadership didn't catch that. And
No.
even if they did, it wasn't surfaced to you.
Yeah. It was just, man, I was getting so frustrated with software dev, because it would be like, hey, we'll have this next week. And then like 3 months later, it's still not done. And we were just doing so many different things all in parallel. And nobody knew all the pieces and different tech stacks and no documentation, like all the things you should,
Yeah.
like all the 101 stuff wasn't there. So it was just like chaos everywhere. But though by scaling it down to 8 people, saying no new work, we're just going to like get what's done in the pipeline.
Focus on us.
Focus on us, get some structure in here, and let's just build this thing back up again. So today, I really feel like we release more work with like 8 people than we did when we had 50 there, and it's actually on time and it works, and things aren't crashing left and right all over the place.
Right.
And there's still some tech debt we're working through and some things we're doing there, but I feel like the company in general is in a much better place when it comes to that.
Yeah, and it's fun to observe and watch you guys, and we see like some of when you do come in and provide input, you're helping steer the ship and helping people see and understand the value that the product is delivering and where we should invest in tech. Like where should we build new tools? What should we attack from? a market standpoint. What should we attack? Should we change our subscription structure and some things like that? But before, I mean, you're hands-on now to a degree, but before you were really hands-off. But has the leadership structure that you have in place now also kind of enabled you to participate in the right way, I guess? Is that?
It has, right? So if you go back in time several years ago, I had a lot of people reporting to me.
Yeah.
Like pretty much everybody. And like I wasn't getting anything done besides the revolving door of people coming through my office, right? So I really had to be like, okay, like I need like 5 people that report to me.
Yeah.
And I can kind of keep a handle on this thing, because I always tell people, like, my job as CEO really comes down to 3 things. 1, I need to be focused on the next 5 years. Like I need to spend most of my time worried about that and figuring out how to build that bridge and like what things need to be done.
And thinking about the industry too, not just what's diesel.
Yeah, you're like, okay, electrification and trucks driving themselves and like all these, smart trailer, all these things. Like, okay, how does that, how is the world going to change and look like in 5 years? And how do we best fit diesel laptops to get into that, right? The other role with mine is like when I go into a meeting, I want to be like the dumbest guy in the room. Like that is my goal to hire people. Everyone's smarter than me. Like let me be the idiot and ask the questions. Like I'm not afraid to ask a stupid question, but like I want to look at me like, is this guy an idiot? Like that means I got really smart people in that room that can help me navigate and do things, for the company. And that's really important to find when you're looking for a leader.
Right. Well, how do you impart that to people? Because I agree with you. I think that's really important, and it's something that I struggle with a lot as well. If you want to, there's kind of 2 sides of it. I do want to go figure out the interesting things, try to solve the problems, and then kind of distribute that knowledge to the rest of the team. But I also need to get the hell out of the way, and I want to encourage people, our guys, to go and do that and have that mentality and go spend extra time and find new problems to solve and new ways to do things. And we try to make sure everyone's very aware of what delivers value to the company, what delivers value to our customers, making sure there's no lost time, right? We don't want to build up that form of debt. Where does the lost time go? But how do you impart that mentality and that trust in people?
Well, we hold them accountable is what we do.
Yeah.
So for us, what we do is we have a strategic plan every year. And like, hey, here's the things we need to go execute on. And everyone that's involved in the strategic plan literally has to present to me and the rest of the C-suite every quarter, like, where are you at? What are you doing? And I can say, like, we're recording this here, like, in September, of, like, the 8-ish people that we had, like, strat plans for, 2 of them aren't here anymore. And in both cases, it was people that weren't executing and doing the things they wanted to do.
Sure.
And in both cases, the other big piece of it is just being really direct and honest with people. So when they're presenting to us and they're like, it's like green, yellow, or red on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you're in yellow. Like, what are you going to do? And in one case, that person's like, well, I don't know. Like, well, you better figure it out. And by the way, my door's open. And by the way, here's like 5 ideas. Like, figure it out. And then you come to the next one and it's red now. And you're like, well, what did you do? Well, I didn't get around to it. I didn't do anything. Like, you're not the right person to be in this role. Like, you're a great human. You've been here a while. But if you can't do these things, like I don't have time or room at the table for you. And that's just being like direct and honest with people, but also give them the opportunity and the resources to go do their job. So people are really clear over there. Like nobody should ever walk into a review and be like blindsided and like shocked at the review or what's going to be said in that review meeting, right? Like those are conversations you should be having all year long. So for us, I just keep telling everyone, like, just be direct with them, be honest with them. You don't need to be a jerk about it. But they need to know exactly where they stand, good or bad.
Right. And
that's really hard for a lot of young managers and people that aren't experienced because they have a fear. Like, I'm going to upset them or I'm going to upset so-and-so. Like, they have all this fear they build in their head and they just have a lack of courage to do it. So that's the other part of my job is just to motivate and give people the courage to go do the things they need to do to accomplish their goals for diesel laptops.
Right. And it's okay if it's not a good fit anymore. And people need to understand that in general, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we find a lot.
I would say that the 2 people that aren't there, like, it was funny. We actually had an executive meeting like 2 months before this. And I brought up both their names. And like my executive team was like, well, I don't know. Like one just moved here. This other guy's kind of good on these other things, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, I guarantee if you talk to them, they know they're probably not happy. They know they're failing. Like, just go have like a conversation with them. And they did the conversation, and one of them was like, right away, like, yeah, you're right. I know I just moved here, but I'm not happy. Like, I'm going to resign. Like, oh, okay. And the other one, it was a mutual thing. When we got done talking, like, he's like, yeah, I'm frustrated this, frustrated that. I feel I haven't moved the needle. Like, and we're like, hey, we feel the same way. Like, let's just figure out an off ramp for you to like get into your next job, your next role and stuff. So we're not just like taking people and being like, you're out of here. It's like, let's have a conversation and figure out the off ramp.
Yeah,
and you can do it
have you ever had anybody change role as opposed to just?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the managers I have now started the company in like really reduced roles. So the person that used to be my executive assistant, Vanessa, now runs like two of our four sales divisions.
Yeah.
Right. And she didn't do that because she was like a good assistant. She did that because she had a great attitude. She showed leadership without authority. She just got in the trenches. She brought like, you could just tell she was passionate about what she did. Yeah. And as soon as you gave her one opportunity and she nailed it, then it was like, well, here's another one and another one.
Right.
So we're constantly trying to do that. And we do that too. If we think it's the right person, the wrong fit, we're not afraid to move them to like a different seat in the bus, so to speak, or to a different department and say like, hey, maybe you got a better home over here than here. You're like, we think you have the same skill set. So we'll do that too. The last thing we want to do is go like impact someone's life negatively, right? And be like, hey, you're out of a job. There's the unemployment line. That's not usually what we do. It's usually like conversation. All right, here's your severance package.
Right.
Like, we don't have the role for you. Like, we're here to help you with resources. We'll help you get a resume writer. We'll help you like get you connected with some job headhunters. Like we do those things to try to like smooth it as much as we can. And it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, as business owners or CEO or manager, your guiding light is always like, what's best for the company?
Right.
Is it best that person's here or is it best they're not here? And usually the answer is really obvious when you just take everything out besides that.
Right. Yeah. One thing that I think about a lot is when we talk about so at Krum, when we talk about our employees' responsibilities versus the responsibilities of the technical employees that we're helping at the other companies, we use that as a way to frame where our expertise lies. Like at Krum, you need to be experts in the technologies, right? In the delivery of technology. So we serve technology companies and the technology industry. And that helps us narrow focus on the why, the what, the how, the who of just software development. It's ultimately, at the end of the day, the responsibility of our customers to be experts in their industries. And the way we have that model set up, and because we want to be kind of co-development and collaborative, it lets us kind of set those boundaries for responsibility and that clarity there. But the big thing there, and I think what you mentioned about somebody being able to grow from a smaller role into a larger leadership role is indicative of a healthy culture and a company that knows what they do, where they fit, how they work. Because we talk about this growth of an employee and almost like building a college degree in what Diesel does, right? So somebody's getting a bachelor's, they're ready to go into more of a leadership role. But if we find indicators and see that there are people who aren't willing to get that degree in Diesel, they're probably not a good fit, right? Yeah. No matter how smart and sharp they are.
100%, right? It's all the intangibles, right? Like people can look great on paper, but it's like, do they show up on time? Do they communicate well? Do they work hard? Do they have good attitude? Like all those things of what you're looking for. And every new employee that comes to work for Diesel sits with me. And I always ask them the same question. I'm always like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And like, I'll tell you what, most of them give the same BS answer. I see myself at Diesel Laptops doing a great job or some variation of it. Yeah. I'm like, okay. But every once in a while, you get one in there that's actually like, you can tell where they're going because they're like, oh, well, I'm doing this night school. I'm going to get these certifications. I want to do X, Y, Z in my life. Like they have a plan. And I always tell people like, sometimes people tell me like, what do you want to do in life? And then they like, well, I want to be an astronaut. Like, how are you going to do it? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, that's not a plan. That's a wish, right? That's what you have. Like, you actually need a plan if you want to get somewhere. But it's really rare to find those employees that actually have like a plan and like the motivation to go build and do that plan. But those are the exact things you look for in leadership.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny, and we're butting up at the end of time. So I've got some quick hitters I think we can go through. But I like that we talked about, there's almost pillars, and I don't want to get cheesy with all that stuff, but we've talked about leadership related to culture. We've talked about leadership related to accountability, to understanding the business and the industry. We've touched on all these different things. And when you first started doing some of those hires, were you thinking about that whole piece yet, or was it just
Man,
do you have the skills?
in the beginning, it was like, I'm doubling revenue every year, right? Inc. 500, Inc. 5000, fastest growing. So I was just like, I just need a body.
You just need somebody.
I need a bodies, right? But I thankfully had a lot of great managers. I always tell people, like, man, I don't think I'm good at hiring and interviewing people. But on the other hand, a lot of people that were with me that first year are like still here at Diesel Laptops. So did something right. But that's what happens when you hire people you know. But yeah, you got to start thinking about those things as your company scales and just setting the culture, right? And the culture always starts at the top.
Right.
Like that's not a bottom up, that's a top down. How do I act? How do I say? What do I do? And do I follow through? And do I live by my own principles that are coming out of my mouth? And a lot of times those things don't line up. And managers say one thing or leaders, and then they go do something else. And that just undermines everything. So it's really hard to get that trust with employees, and you could lose it in a second.
Yeah. So at the very top, as one of the quick hitters, what does that core group of lieutenants look like?
Yeah, so for me, it's we call it the C-suite: the chief revenue officer, chief operating officer, CEO, and the four of us. So that we are a tight group. Like we got our little group chat. We're always talking about things. They don't even all live here. Two of them, one lives in Charleston, one lives in Charlotte. I got a condo here where they all stay at when we're here. We go to dinners. We go smoke. So like we hang out a lot. We're about to go on a week-long trip to Europe, and like we're all stuck in a van together, an airplane together, right, for a week. But we talk work a ton about strategy, long-term, where we're going. It's pretty rare we're like not on the same page, but when we are, we're like really direct and honest. Like, hey man, me and you're on the same page. Like, what is the page? Let's have a conversation about it. And you have to get all those departments lining up. The group below that, that's really where we do like future leadership training. We assign them special projects. We want to see like who's actually stepping up, who's actually doing the right things. And are they putting the effort in to go to the next role? Like who's replacing me as CEO? Who's replacing my chief financial officer? There's got to be someone in the company that's going to take that role. And that's the job of that next level is like, who we tasking to be like, to fill the shoes.
That's awesome. So last thing I'll ask, and just a little bit more fun, but is there any difference between how much fun you're having and how much pressure you were feeling back then versus today? And is that maybe related to?
Yeah, I think you look back at the early years as like nostalgia. Like I'm always like, oh, my garage, dining room
College
table
was so great.
Yeah. But then I'm like, wait a second, I was working like 20 hours a day with a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a upset wife because I wasn't never home and doing stuff all the time, right? But yeah, like I think in the middle there, more towards the end, I've definitely taken way more personal time, but a lot of that was on me. Like I brought in great executives, things were booming. I got separated and divorced from my wife. I needed to step away for a bit. So like I think there's an ebb and flow to it. But now that we are going through like a capital raise process and kicking that off and just the other things going on, and I'm trying to pivot the entire company to like a new model, which is really fun at a company our size. I'm a lot more hands-on. Like I'm in it. Like employees are getting freaked out while I'm slacking, asking them questions and all that stuff. But their heart I think skips a beat sometimes. But they get where we're going, and that's my job is to be like, here's the future, here's the vision. We're all rowing the boat in the same direction.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on all the success. I'm glad you're having a lot of fun with it. And thanks for joining us today and sharing all the knowledge and experience with everybody else.
Awesome, man. Really appreciate the opportunity. And by the way, thanks for everything Krumware's helped us with. Like you guys got through a really tough spot there, so it's appreciated, man.
Appreciate it.